Hi there, and welcome to Sustainable Brand Index 2025 Finland. Great to be with you, to be able to launch the results of the 2025 Sustainable Brand Index, Europe's largest independent brand study on sustainability. My name is Eric. I'm the founder of the study and also the founder of SB Insight, which is the company performing the study. I will walk you through the results today. This is actually a special year. It's the 15th year that we're performing Sustainable Brand Index. So we started out in 2011 in Sweden, so 15 years ago, which is of course amazing, but it's also very interesting because then we can really dig into the data and the insights to see how has sustainability evolved over these 15 years. And many things have changed, which we will address today. And of course, we're also living in an exciting world. If I should, maybe mention that or call it that. It's a very exciting world at the moment, good and bad, obviously. But of course, this is also impacting the sustainability agenda for companies, but also for consumers. And of course, we're going to talk about that today and see, what's the state of sustainability in this turbulent macro environment when it comes to regular consumers. We will, of course, talk about these key insights. We will talk about the consumer more in depth, going through our behavior groups. We will also look quite a lot at sustainability communication, going through some insights there, the attitude, the trust, what people want to see, basically. And of course, last but not least, as you all know, we will release the ranking of Sustainable Brand Index 2025 with the most sustainable brands in the eyes of consumers in the Finnish market. So let's go. So, before getting into the results, of course, we have to go through a bit how we perform Sustainable Brand Index. I know if you've listened to me for 15 years, you're probably pretty well versed in how we do it. But of course, there are new people listening that want to understand and know how we perform the study. So, I'm actually going to, bring in some help because I'm a big fan of recycling. I'm a fairly circular consumer, pretty proud of that. Sell a lot of things secondhand, for example. Buy a lot of things secondhand as well. But what I really like is recycling. So to bring you the how we perform Sustainable Brand Index and what it is, I'm actually going to introduce myself and recycle Eric from 2024. So let's have a listen to myself from last year.
We have been doing this for a long time now. We started out in Sweden back in 2011. Then 2 years later, we went into the Norwegian market, the Danish market, and the Finnish market. In 2017, we expanded into the Netherlands as well. And then since 2020, we're also in Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania. So all in all, 8 markets today. Sustainable Brand Index is today Europe's largest independent brand study on sustainability. We're very proud of that. And every year, we interview more than 80,000 respondents about how they perceive more than 1,600 brands in these markets. So, how do we do it? How do we perform Sustainable Brand Index? That's a very good question. Let me walk you through the 4 stages of it. Number 1, desk research. We put a massive amount of time every year into looking around us, basically. What is happening in the market? What are key developments that we see? Economy, politics, social trends, etc. And of course, what are the sustainability topics that we see emerging among consumers and in society in general? So this is a lot of work just looking around us and gathering that. And this is super important input that goes into the web surveys that we perform in the later stages. Stage number 2. Web survey number 1. This is where we take all the insights and the results from the desk research stage and we put into a web survey where we want to interview consumers. We work with Norstat as our main supplier of consumer respondents. We access their panels and we ask our questions basically. And web survey number 1 is very much about two things. It's brand assessments. What do people think about the brands from a sustainability perspective? And also some overarching consumer indicators regarding sustainability attitudes and sustainability behaviors. Stage number 3, web survey number 2. Having done web survey number 1, we collect the data, we look at it, we analyze it, and we see, maybe there are things here we want to examine further. If so, we put that into web survey number 2. On top of that, we also look at the in-depth perspective for each brand. So we analyze, or rather we interview consumers about between 25 to 30 different areas for the brand. What are the key drivers behind the perception of the specific brand when it comes to sustainability? Stage number 4, last but not least, turning data into insights. This is really the most important part, according to me. This is where we take the data from Web Survey 1 and Web Survey 2 and of course combine it with 14 years of having performed Sustainable Brand Index. So the amount of data is vast and now we have to make sense of it. And this is what we do. And one part of that is really generating insights that we're going to share today in this webinar. And the other part is really tailored insights relevant for the brands on the list that we provide to them.
Wow, thank you so much, Eric 2024. You know, could work a bit on the tan, but otherwise you did a good job. There you have it, the how and what of Sustainable Brand Index. And so without further ado, let's get into the key insights from Sustainable Brand Index 2025 Finland.
All right, let's dig into it. And this first one is actually really interesting in my opinion, because this is a KPI that we have been following since the very beginning of Sustainable Brand Index. In Finland, it's since 2013. And it's basically showing the interest, or rather how large a share of consumers that are discussing sustainability with one another, sometimes or often. So basically the people talking about sustainability. Why is this interesting? Well, because we do see now a very, very clear development over the past few years that differs a lot from how it used to be. If you look at the timing from 2013 to 2021, you could see that it was actually quite volatile, yeah? It went up and down depending on what happened. We had the Paris climate meeting in December 2015, really spiking the numbers for 2016, basically. Then, of course, we had Donald Trump coming into power the first time in the beginning of 2017. And that kind of led to I would say, a period of less focus on sustainability. And then, as you might remember, we had Greta and a lot of focus on activists. Really pushing the climate topic, and that also helped a lot in increasing the discussions about sustainability. Of course, COVID came, as we all remember, and you can see between 2020 and 2021 there was a decrease, not as large as one might expect, but there was definitely a decrease due to, some people talking about COVID instead of sustainability, of course. But then what's very interesting, despite, if you look at the past 5 years now, 2021 to 2025, despite having a lot of things going on, I mean, we can't say there's been a lack of major global events over the past 5 years. We have, of course, the war in Ukraine breaking out and continuing and being on top of mind for everyone. We have a tough economy. We've had that for a few years now. And of course, now we have Donald Trump being elected and also entering his second term. So no lack of international events, but we do see that the sustainability discussions and then the interest is actually very stable. And this leads to what I would call the new normal. Sustainability has entered a new era over the past few years. It is a new normal. It is integrated in society, in people's minds. And that is very good. And that's, again, you can see that the fluctuation is very, very small compared to the years in the previous period, as I have marked here. So I think we can definitely declare sustainability as the new normal. Doesn't mean that we have to stop fighting, of course, but still it's very good to see that it's so stable in the minds and the interest of consumers.
Indeed, it's great to see that the interest is stable and that we have entered this new normal situation. And another thing, really saying the same thing, I would say, is also when we look at what people actually talk about, so the discussion topics, so to speak. And you can see them here. I've actually lined them up for you right there. And you can see that they are also categorized. So we have, for example, the orange ones are more, should I say, socially oriented, or rather maybe, macro things. We have the green ones, obviously, the environmental, climate related aspects. And then the blue one, the light blue ones, are a bit more societal and maybe I should say governance as well. But basically, we can see that the key discussion topics still war and conflicts, actually 62%. No surprise there, really. That is natural given the state of the world at the moment. Safe societies, that is also a strong topic in Finland, much stronger than in the other Nordic countries, and that's of course also given the fact that you have a very long border connecting to Russia. So it's more about that part of safe societies. Otherwise, I think it's great to see climate change very high, circular economy very high, water, air and water pollution, energy efficiency, etc. So a lot of important sustainability topics being discussed a lot by Finnish consumers.
Here we have them, our 4 very cute consumer behavior groups that we have followed since 2013 in all the countries where we're active. And as mentioned before, we call them ego, moderate, smart, and dedicated. And just to be very clear, we don't go around asking people whether they're ego or moderate or smart or dedicated. It's much more sophisticated than that. So it's basically a model that we built over the time, and it was based on an observational study in the very beginning. So just to give you some quick traits, and you will also find more details in the official report, which you will of course download immediately after this session. The ego group, as you might guess from the name, why we named it that, is that they are very focused on themselves and their well-being and specifically their pricing, function, those kind of things. So sustainability as such is not something that they prioritize actively. However, they do value some aspects of sustainability, which we would we would call it sustainability in some cases. For example, a living countryside, active countryside. We have, of course, working conditions in the own country, in Finland in this case. So they definitely have interest in some topics. However, they don't like being, they don't like the word sustainability. They don't like climate change, those kind of like maybe wordings or phrases, because they think it's a bit politically correct. So that's that group, and they're very important because, as you're going to see, they are that's a big one. We have the moderate group, as you might guess, bit in between the big group, basically in all countries, and the same for Finland. I would say the key trait here is that they're a follower. They don't go around changing themselves, but they follow others and see, okay, so now people are doing this, maybe I should try it too. So that's their key trait. We have the smart group. Now we're getting into the more progressive consumers. The smart group, key thing there, I would say, is that they are able to balance, what's in it for me with also what's in it for the world, so to speak. So they know that this is an equation that works, basically. But they're very into, service, quality, health, those kind of things. And climate change is a key topic for them. And last but not least, or actually least in terms of size, the dedicated group, you might guess from the name as well, very, very into sustainability, actively searching, actively asking questions, very, very opinionated on social media, for example. It's a small group, but definitely you don't want to have them, against you, so to speak. So let's have a look at how they have developed over these past few years. And To start with Ego, you can see for yourself here that it's quite stable if you look at the long-term trend in Finland, where we started out somewhere just below 30, so you can see percent, and then now we're actually back or more or less on that level as well. So it's gone down over the first few years of Sustainable Brand Index, and now then we've seen fairly neutral for a few years, and then we had a spike, or rather an increase last year, and a bit of a decrease this year. But it is a big group, and I think the key takeaway from this is that this is a group that's going to be here. They're not going to go away. So it's definitely about how do we find a way to actually interact with them and talk to them. Moderate group, of course, also a big group, as you can see here, roughly 50%. Of the population in Finland, going up a bit this year. But as you can see, again, if you look at the years 2017 until 2025, you can see it's quite stable, and that's the Finnish way. It's stable. People have their opinions, people have their behaviors, and they are sometimes tough to change. So this is also going to be a big, obviously. Smart group, I mean, good news, I would say, in the long term here. You can see that it's gone up quite a bit since we started measuring it back in 2013. So now we're a bit below 25%, as you can see, and it's been very stable. You can see now past 3 years, same level. So again, very stable as it is in Finland. We did have a spike, or rather a high level between 2019 and 2022. These were also the years when sustainability communication were everywhere. It was a lot of focus on it. There was basically, it was a good market for a smart consumer in terms of, getting information and being able to make sustainable choices, I would say. And then we have the dedicated group, and this is a group that actually been mostly hit by the past few years of maybe less communication about sustainability, but also, of course, primarily the economy, because this is the group that has decreased since it peaked around 10% in 2023. It's gone down now, so now we're at 5% of the Finnish population, which is quite natural. And as you can see, that's also the way we started out back in 2013. So we're back to basics there, and it's quite natural in terms of the fact that the dedicated group is definitely, they have a lot of values. They want to behave, and they do behave sustainably. But the ones. So if we just take as an example the 5 percentage points that are no longer in the group compared to 2023. It's not the fact that they don't care about sustainability. It's more that they don't have the means to behave sustainably. So that's why we see this decrease, and due to the economy, basically. So all in all, this is a summary, as you can see, the state of sustainable behavior in Finland. And I think the key takeaway that I want to mention here for all of these groups, or rather the market, I would say, is that it is over time stable. We're not going to see this kind of like huge increase in maybe dedicated or smart that we were hoping for a few years back. We're not going to see ego exploding now because Donald Trump is president in the US, and there are a lot of backlash in terms of maybe sustainability policies here and there. That's not going to happen. It's going to be like this, and it's up to you as brands and as companies to actually adapt to that and make sure that, okay, how do we address these types of consumers, and how do we make sustainability relevant for them? Because we're not going to have people running around demanding sustainability up and down and here and there, and we're not going to have people saying, we don't care. It's going to be very stable, and it's definitely just a matter of how do we communicate with them, how do we activate them, and that we do in different ways. And talking about that, and communicating sustainability and trying to activate people. So I think what you've heard, hopefully, otherwise I will be very clear now, is that they are not going to, the vast majority of consumers are not going to change their behavior from not acting sustainably to acting sustainably. They are definitely going to be the way they are. Convenience is a big thing, as you all know. So it's much more about how can you put things on the market, how can you talk to these consumers to actually make sustainability interesting and relevant for them. And I'm just going to take an example just to give you an idea of what I mean here. Because if you look at the different groups, and in this case we have ego from the top, and then moderate and smart and dedicated, just to remind you. And just this is a fictive example. Let's say we we're an energy company. We want to sell a smart, sustainable solution for uh, more efficient energy usage, which is of course also a good thing for the economy. So this is an easy example, but it's just to give you an idea, like how would we communicate about this with the different types of consumers. So in terms of the ego consumers, you can see cuts your electricity costs while keeping the performance high. This is what they care about. They want to pay less and they want the performance to be high. You don't have to mention climate or any kind of impact, because honestly they're not that into that. So that's just byproduct of this fantastic service that we are providing. If you look at the moderate group, the big group, the largest group, smart choices that keep your bills low without compromising comfort. So here we are a bit, it's kind of the same, but a bit more maybe, focus on comfort, the family and that kind of convenience. So that's a big thing for the moderate group. Now then we're getting into the more progressive ones. So we have cutting waste means cutting costs, better for your wallet and the world. So again, what I mentioned before, what's in it for me and what's in it for the world. So very much of a balance there. You have both of them because they care about both, but of course you have to have the wallet there because that's definitely important. And then last but not least, again, the dedicated group. So efficiency isn't just about saving energy, it's about doing the right thing. So, a bit more, I would say, altruistic, a bit more idealistic, maybe. So a bit more playing to that side, basically, because they do care about sustainability. And of course, if they can save money as well, they're just human beings. They, of course, like that. So that's not a matter of that. But, they want to hear more about, okay, how do you create change, basically? So there you have it, the four consumer groups. And again, I think the key takeaway here: stable, looking at the world, the macro perspective today. We're not going to see, ego going crazy because of, any president here or there or any policies here or there. We're not going to see dedicated just all of a sudden become 25% of the population because they really realize how bad things are. We have to adapt to how people behave today in order to create change tomorrow. Yes, let's move into this part about sustainability communication. And of course, it's very, very much connected to what we just talked about in terms of consumers and how they behave and what they want to hear, as we ended on. First out, it's just a question about, what do people think about, companies talking about sustainability, communicating about sustainability? Are they positive? Are they negative? And as you can see, over time here as well, it's going up. So we do see that the positive attitude is definitely where there. We have 62% of the Finnish population saying, yes, I think it's a good thing that companies communicate sustainability. You can also see that the negatives has gone down, especially between 23 and 24. There was a really high level at 68% positives last year, as you can see. So this is more of a normalization this year, that it goes down to 62. But in general, people are very positive to the fact that companies can and should communicate sustainability. And the reasons for that are different, of course. The main thing, the key thing, or the largest part that people choose is that, sustainability is about our future, our common future. So companies must take responsibility. And of course, communicating about what they do is a part of that. So that's an important driver. We also see that it's good to know that companies work on sustainability, even if it doesn't affect me. Maybe it doesn't impact my shopping in this case, but they like it. They like to know what they're doing. Sustainability communication can inspire positive change, and I would say this is maybe the most, according to me at least, the most important role that communication about sustainability can play, which is also something, reaching out a bit here, but looking at the regulations around sustainability communication, which in many ways are very good and very needed. There is also an aspect of it, of course, obstructing and maybe scaring companies from talking about it. And my fear is that, of course, that'll actually lead to the opposite, meaning that, people don't see this inspirational work, don't see these innovations, these things happening, and then they don't really, they care less, basically. If it's not there, there's nothing to engage in, basically. So I think that's something that is super important. And then, of course, I want to know what companies do to help me shop sustainably. So also some people, they want to do it. So maybe primarily the smart consumers that we looked at, for example. So they think it's, this is an information perspective to it.
So this is very positive. However, and for those of you who listened to me last year, you know that this was a challenge then as well. But basically, if we look at the trust around, sustainability communication, so these questions here are more asked, okay, let's talk about specific things that you see. So the communication about sustainability that you see right now in society or around you, see and hear, what do you think about that? Do you trust it or don't you trust it? And as you can see, we do have roughly a fourth of the population saying that, yes, I trust it, 26%, very stable again in Finland. It is a slight decrease over the longer period, but it's quite small. But we do still have a large, significant chunk, a third of the population almost saying that, no, I instinctively mistrust what companies say about sustainability. And this is a huge challenge, because the interest is high, but the mistrust is there. So this is tough situation. People want you to talk more, but they don't necessarily, all of them, trust what you're doing. And then, of course, you have a large group between these trust and mistrust people that haven't really maybe made up their mind yet. Sorry. So why do you mistrust it? I mean, that's a key thing, yeah. And you can see for yourselves here, the absolutely biggest one is that it's mostly marketing, not real action. It's basically greenwashing. That's what people mostly claim when they answer about the mistrust. Profit over sustainability, communication feels fake. Companies talk about sustainability to stay politically correct. It's hard to trust, difficult to verify truthfulness. And there, of course, we have a lot of regulations coming within the framework of Green Claims Directive from the EU around, verifying what's actually being said, which will probably, hopefully at least, help that. Lots of promises, little evidence of real change, more or less the same kind of topic, I would say. And then there have been scandals, and that's why, maybe not only impacting the company being involved in the scandal, but actually also, the market in general. Unclear messaging, very small one, as you can see. But I think the key thing here, if you look at the top three here, what is it? What can we say? What's the common denominator? And the common denominator here, I would say, is that people don't really trust in the authenticity and the reason for companies talking about sustainability. They think it's for the wrong reasons, maybe. And I mean, I would argue, of course, making money, that's good. That's something companies need to do, and using sustainability and being sustainable and also communicating about sustainability is a good part of that. But for consumers, they feel that, the authenticity is not there. The real purpose of why companies and brands are talking about sustainability is not good enough for consumers, basically. So I would say that authenticity, being of course super important in branding in general, is definitely something that is needed here as well in the eyes of consumers. And then last but not least, just a bit of an information about, what do people like brands to communicate in that sense? What would engage them? What would be good? I mean, so first of all, the biggest one is that people really want to have communication about, the product that I'm potentially buying, not about maybe the company behind it and all of the things good that you're doing, but actually go, okay, this product that I'm interested in, tell me about that and tell me about the sustainability aspects of that. Then, of course, we have also a significant part here, 31% saying, I want to look these things up myself. You don't have to push it on me. So please, let me be. I think that is also important, and also finding the way to balance these two needs, I would say. Because as you can see in number 3 here, other people do appreciate in-depth sustainability info, being able to learn more, and transparency, I would say. And you can read for yourselves, hopefully, but I would say that the key thing here is that it's quite a variety. It's again, just as with the consumer behavior groups, it's a bit, some people want to have the information, they want to be very, they want you to be on top, whereas others are much more like, okay, if I need anything, I'll let you know, but otherwise I will look into it myself. So this is definitely a tough market to navigate. And the key thing, or the main thing that people like, when we ask them, okay, what type of communication would you prioritize? Or would you actually prefer? And that's really, and I try to visualize it very, very simply here, but labels. So people do say, like, the key thing that they want to see and the key thing that they trust as well is definitely, third-party labels and certifications. And this is, of course, again, connecting to the Green Claims Directive coming from the EU, which is also one of the purposes of that is, of course, to regulate this market of basically too many labels floating around. So this is also going to be very interesting to see, because third-party labels, when they are credible, when they are strong brands, basically, it's super good to have and super good to communicate, because people do trust it. I mean, it's basically someone else says that I'm good, it's better than me saying that I'm good. That's really the key thing here. So yeah, all in all, a challenging communication landscape, but hopefully we'll give you some insights into how you can navigate it, both in terms of the consumer groups, but also now what people prefer about communication.
Right. What we've all been waiting for, I suppose, the 2025 ranking in Sustainable Brand Index Finland. Before I'm going to walk you through the top 10, the industry winners, the of course the overall winner. We just want to explain also what the ranking is all about, how it's constructed, so to speak. So again, I'm going to take some help with my recycled friend Eric from 2024. So take it away, Eric. Explain a bit about the ranking, please.
The Sustainable Brand Index ranking score consists of two major areas. We call them environmental responsibility and social responsibility. So these are the key aspects of the ranking score. The definition that we use are the 17 global goals for sustainable development. So for environmental responsibility, we take the environmentally related goals, and that's what we use as a definition when we ask consumers. And same for social responsibility, we take the socially related goals and put them in the definition as for social responsibility.
All right. Thank you so much, Eric 2024. Very good. I think I understand. I know it, but I think people understand. But maybe we can just take an example, such as what would be a perfect brand? How would that score?
If you're a perfect brand, which means that everyone thinks you're sustainable, you would get 100% within environmental responsibility and another 100% within social responsibility. We take these percentages and we put those on top of each other. So again, a perfect brand, there is no such thing, I know, but a perfect brand would get 200%. That's the maximum score. So the score goes from 0 to 200. And this score then corresponds to a certain rank in the list that you get.
All right, great, good example. Of course, as you say, there are no such things as perfect brands, but now we get it. Now we understand the scoring in Sustainable Brand Index. So let's move into the actual results, and starting by looking at the average score, because that gives us a good indication of the development for all brands and the market sentiment when it comes to sustainability and sustainability perception of brands. And here we have it, the average Sustainable Brand Index ranking score. So basically, this is an average of all the brands in Sustainable Brand Index in Finland. And you can see that over time, it's gone up, which I think is positive, because that means that, one, people have more awareness. They're more aware of what brands and companies are doing or not doing as well, of course. But also more and more people have become positive over time. So the attitude has also increased, the positive attitude. We did have a slight decline last year, -9 percentage points. That was really the same in all the Nordic countries, actually even stronger in Sweden, even stronger in Denmark. Norway had a tougher year as well the year before that. So Finland was kind of spared, I would say. And this year, again, as with the interest in sustainability, which we talked about before, this is very stable. This is extremely stable. It's the same level as last year. Not much have happened in the average score situation. So basically, Finns are where they were last year in terms of how they perceive brands in general when it comes to sustainability. So very stable. And again, that's definitely something that is also quite characteristic for the Finnish market, that Finnish consumers are very, very stable in their opinions about brands, about sustainability communication, and so on. Okay, so now we are done with the overall perspective of the ranking. Let's get into the specifics. First out, we're going to look at the brands that have climbed the most, actually, in Sustainable Brand Index since last year. the top 30 climbers.
All right, here we have them, the top 30 climbers in Finland between 24 and 25 in Sustainable Brand Index. And as you can see, it's kind of a mix of brands. We have everything from airlines and travel companies to logistics to food and beverage to energy companies. Jungle Juice Bar is the one that has climbed the most, 42 positions since last year. That's very impressive. So congratulations. We have Turku Energia, 41 positions. We have Hartwall, we have Findus, we have Vantaan Energia, 32 positions, also very, very strong. Positive year for all of these. And as you can see, many other brands on the list that have climbed that have climbed the most since last year in Sustainable Brand Index in Finland.
Let us have a look at the industry winners in Sustainable Brand Index 2025 Finland. And 27 industries, here we have them. Congratulations to all the industry winners. Good job, well done. We do have a lot of same industry winners as last year, as you can see. But I do want to mention the ones that are actually new. We have Finlayson coming in as a new or returning, I would say, as the winner of furniture and decoration brands category. So congratulations to Finlayson. We have Prisma retaking the top position in the grocery stores category. So well done there as well. Then we have Veikon Kone in home appliances and electronics stores coming up there and taking the first place. And then hygiene and cleaning, we have Sini coming in at number 1 there. So we do have some changes, but otherwise you can also see strong sustainable brands at the top of the other industries as well. So all in all, congratulations to all the industry winners. Well done. Keep up the good work.
All right, we have reached the peak of the Sustainable Brand Index 2025 Finland webinar. It's time for the top 10, the countdown. So let's go. Number 10, 2025 is Kesko. K-Ryme, sorry for the pronunciation. Kesko number 10, climbing a lot in the ranking this year. Really, really good performance since last year. Number 9, coming in, is S-Market, coming in at place 9. Always performing well, always, at least I think so, always in the top 10, if I remember correctly. And number 8, we have a colleague of S-Market Prisma, so family member Prisma coming in at number 8. Well done, congratulations to you. Talking about family, at number 7 we have family brand Fazer coming in at number 7 this year, very strong. At number 6 I am hesitant as to whether I should give it a try to pronounce it or not, but number 6 we have YA, Yliopiston Apteekki. Sorry about the pronunciation, but very good performance, also climbing this year. Number 5, another climber, 1 position, but still, that's still a climb. So we have VR, number 5, the transportation company. Very good. Number 4, Sini, the cleaning brand. Very good. Number 4, I think that's a top score for Zini in Sustainable Brand Index. And at number 3, we have SOK, S-Ryme. So both Kesko and S Group on top 10, which is, of course, a very, very strong performance of these corporations in Sustainable Brand Index 2025. And number 2, now we're getting closer. Number 2, who would it be? I think you're sitting there guessing. Number 2 is Valio. Valio comes in as number 2 in Sustainable Brand Index 2025. Well done. Always a top brand. Has actually won the most times in Sustainable Brand Index in Finland. And that actually leaves us with number 1. Who might that be? I think some of you might have guessed it, but let's have a look. Number 1 in Sustainable Brand Index 2025 Finland is Elovena again. Second year, fantastic, well done. What a great performance by Elovena.
coming in as number one, the most sustainable brand in Finland according to Finnish Consumers 2025. Congratulations.
Congratulations to Elovena, the top 10, the industry winners, obviously, as well. Good work, and keep up the good work and the good sustainability communication that you're working on. Hopefully, we've also given you a bit of advice during this webinar about what you can do and how you should do to act or communicate on this quite difficult market. Because I do want to summarize by saying, I mean, first of all, super important to emphasize that the interest in sustainability is there. The consumer interest is there. It's stable over the past 5 years, as you saw in the beginning. It's integrated. We're in the new normal where sustainability is integrated, and that is a great thing, and that's something that we should really be happy about, despite things happening around us that might be a bit, causing a bit of despair sometimes. But consumers are there in terms of interest and engagement, I would say. The other thing I want to emphasize, because that's one thing. The other thing, okay, but do they behave sustainably? No, most people don't, and most people won't unless they get the right conditions to do it. And we can't sit around waiting for people saying, hey, I wonder when this sustainable product or this sustainable service is coming around. We have to be innovative. We have to be much better at communication to actually engage not only the dedicated ones, which we tend to do when we are extremely sustainability argument focused in our communication, but actually talking about the other values of sustainability, because there are many, as you all know. So that balance is super important, and that's going to create the behavior change, and that's going to create the change that we all need, basically. And again, 15 years of Sustainable Brand Index, a lot of things have happened. I would say that from my perspective, the internal perspective, like when I meet companies, when I started Sustainable Brand Index back in 2011 and started contacting companies and saying, we're going to do this, are you interested in learning more? Or are you interested in maybe getting some insights? There was a lot of companies saying, why? Why should we do this? Why is this relevant? And today I never get that question. Now it's more like, okay, what can we do and how fast can we do it, basically? So that is also a big behind the scenes change that I definitely want to emphasize. If you're a brand on the list, and if you haven't been in contact with us, you can of course get your own very, very detailed and tailored report about your results, the consumers, the market development. We have different levels, from the bit lighter data report, a lot of data, as you can imagine from the name. We have the analysis report, the bestseller, I would say, and then we have the strategy report, which is much more comprehensive. And then the last one is the perception versus performance report, where we actually compare your performance, your perception, your consumer perception, with your actual performance based on your reporting. So we create a gap analysis, basically, between those two. Now it's out, Sustainable Brand Index 2025. It's out. The official report is out there. You go to our website, you fill out a form, and then you can just, dig into it and look at the ranking, look at the key insights in depth. You can play around a bit. It's an interactive report this year, so hopefully you'll appreciate that. And go ahead and get it. And thank you so much for listening. It's been great to be able to present this to you, and thank you for 15 years.